Hi everyone, my name's Kalthoff and welcome to a Stamping to Share video. Today I'd like to share with you a couple of cards that I made using the In Color Accessory Pack and the Sheer Perfection Vellum Pack. Both of these items are in the March bonus celebration special, and those are items only available in March. They're add-ons to our celebration items, which means that when you purchase a $50 order, you have the option of getting this absolutely free as a gift with purchase. And so these are the lovely In Color baker's twine. It's the thick baker's twine and then some buttons. And I was just dying to use these buttons, but the card just didn't work with the buttons today. But I'll show you how that card evolved in just a second. And then I was able to use a sheet of this beautiful floral print in my cards. So let me show you the progress that I made here. And this is the first card that I started with. And you can see that I have the lovely Sheer Perfection vellum paper, and I have it backed with some sweet taffy designer series paper. And I love the look, but you know, and I am using the thick baker's twine here, but it sort of seemed kind of fallish to me. And so I thought, well, maybe I can lighten it up. I'll use you know, Tangelo Twist as my base paper, and then maybe make this panel white. And so that's what this particular card is. I still use the Sweet Taffy Designer Series paper in the background. And then I do have just a little bit of basic gray backing it, but then I did a base of Tangelo Twist with some white, Whisper White paper, and then I used some pumpkin pie so that it would show off the baker's twine a little bit better. But you know what? It still seemed fallish to me, and I thought, you know, here we are in Minnesota. We do have a sunny day today, so that's kind of a bonus. However, it's below zero outside right now. But what we're dying to see is some green. We really need some green. So then I kept playing with it, and this is the winner. This is the card that just made my heart sing. And it uses the Mossy Meadow background, or in the background as the base card. Then you have your Whisper White paper. And then I use Pear Pizzazz because I thought that just would really pop. Here you have, again, the Sweet Taffy behind the vellum, and then a little bit of the basic gray just to block that all off nicely. And on the inside, I'm always needing some thank you cards. So this says 1,000,001 thanks on the inside. So I'm going to show you how to create this card. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to need is a piece of the base paper that we're going to use for our card. That is cut at 5.5 by 8.5, and then I've scored it at 4 1/4. And then all we do is we fold towards the mountain, which means that little bump on the fold there. We're going to fold towards that bump. That's the mountain part of the fold. And then I'm going to use my bone folder just to get a nice crease here so that the card will lay flat for us while we work with it. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the inside panel in, as long as I've got that handy. That's a piece of Whisper White cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And then at the bottom I have a 1/2 inch by 4 inch strip of the Sweet Taffy Designer Series paper. That's such a bright, fun, and springy paper pack. Then I'm going to use Mossy Meadow ink, and I'm going to stamp the 1,000,001 thanks on the inside. So I'm inking that up. I'm going to line this up so I have this pretty straight on my block. So I just have to make sure that my block is straight when I stamp it. So there it is. Turned out great. And now I'm going to use some snail to adhere this to the inside panel of my card. And I like to use snail on Whisper White because that way I don't end up with any glue lines. Sometimes the glue lines don't show up right away, but a little bit down the road they show up. And so I only like to use glue when it's on a sturdier paper or on designer series paper. So we have the inside panel of our card done. Now let's work on the outside panel. So one of the things we're going to need on the outside panel is a piece of Whisper White. This is cut at 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then I ran it through the Big Shot machine with one of our Spring Occasions catalog embossing folders. This one's called Spring Flowers. And you can see how pretty this looks. Let me hold it up here so you can see. It is gorgeous. I hope it's catching the light just right so you can see that. And then because there's no ribbon wraps or anything on this, we can just go ahead and put this on our, we can just go ahead and put this right on our card. So again, I'm going to use some snail, and I'm just putting quite a bit. You need a little bit extra snail when you have embossing on your panel, just because there's some nooks and crannies there, so we want that to hold really well. All right, so now we have this panel down. Now the next thing is to start working with our vellum sheet. So I did use the Sheer Perfection vellum, and you'll be able to get 4 panels cut from a 6 by 6 panel. And I have this panel cut at 2 3/4 by 3 inches. And then I went ahead and followed that up with a piece of the Sweet Taffy Designer Series paper, and that is also cut at 2 3/4 by 3 inches. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adhere this vellum panel to my Sweet Taffy Designer Series paper panel. So to do that, I'm just going to add a little bit of our snail. I find that when you have a patterned piece of vellum, the snail doesn't really show through too noticeably, whereas if you're using vellum that's just straight vellum with no patterns, you will notice the snail. It will kind of show through to the front. But with a piece of pattern paper, it's not noticeable. So there we go, we have that ready. And then we're going to layer this with a 1/8 inch mat all the way around. So that mat would be cut at 2 7/8 by 3 1/8. And I cut that with the basic gray paper. And then just because I have my snail nice and handy, I'm going to use snail on this piece too. However, I could use glue if I chose to. So I'm just going to layer this on and make sure that my borders are nice and even. Now I have to be really careful with snail, because if I had used glue, I'd be able to wiggle it into place. But with snail, you really kind of only have one shot. Next, we are going to use a Pear Pizzazz panel. This panel is 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. So that's going to give us just a nice tiny little border at the top. And we are going to add our vellum panel to that, and we're going to use Stampin' Dimensionals. Now it's so funny, I got an email from one of my wonderful clients yesterday, Jan, and she told me, she's from Iowa, she told me that she had always bought pop-up dots from various places, and she just never felt like they stuck very well. And she'd also purchased rhinestones and pearls from other places outside of Stampin' Up, and they also would never stay on her cards. Once she started going through Stampin' Up, she says she's not had any problems with things falling off, and so she just wanted to send me a little note yesterday and thank me for introducing her to some of the Stampin' Up products that have really changed her crafting life. So that was such a happy email to get, and I'm so grateful to you, Jan, for taking the time out of your day to do that. And now what we have is this wonderful thick baker's twine, and we are just going to wrap this around. I'm going to trim it here with my ribbon scissors so that I can cut this into, or tie this into a nice knot. So we're just going to tie this into a knot, and once we have the knot tied, we can still move it a little bit so that we can get it right where we want to on our card. And I'm just going to scoot this over a little bit more to the left. Then I'm going to trim it again with my ribbon scissors, about like that. Let's bring that under. How pretty is that? All right, so now we just need to add dimensionals to this piece again, and then we'll be able to pop that right onto our card, and our card will be complete. So we'll grab a couple more pieces, make sure that one here in the center, just so the card stays nice and popped up, and we are ready to put this on our card. So here's our card. I'm just going to center this right in the white panel. It should be very even all the way around. And our card is complete. Let me get this little strand under here. He wants to keep popping up. There we go. Look at how pretty that turned out. So here's the card we just completed. Here's the card I had done in advance. And of course you could make a whole series of cards, as you saw. I have an orange one here, and I think it would be kind of fun to do some other in colors, maybe a Blackberry Bliss or a Blue Lagoon. Hello Honey would be pretty. So I hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial. Have a great day. Thanks so much for stopping by Stamping to Share. And if you do need any product and you'd like to take advantage of Sale-a-bration reward items during this month of March, just drop by my blog where there's links to place orders at www.stampingtoshare.com. I truly appreciate you. Bye-bye.